The legendary Brad McQuaid, creator of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen and chief creative officer at Visionary Realms, recently did an AMA on Reddit answering a staggering amount of questions over the course of an afternoon. I know how much you guys crave information about Pantheon, and because we all don't have the time to sit down and read all of these great answers Brad gave, I took the liberty of compiling what I feel is the newest, most important, or just plain interesting info that we can learn from the answers. So let's get right to it. At this point, still relatively early on in development, the perspective level cap is either 40 or 50. The game will feature built-in voice chat. They want to be in full testing for at least a year, as it helped EQ launch in a solid, fairly balanced way, so naturally, this is what they would like for Pantheon as well. VR's goal is to have enough content at launch to go at least 6, perhaps 9 months before releasing an expansion. The game will not have instanced combat, dungeons will be huge and shared, and in a situation where multiple groups are in the same area, certain areas may have specific mobs that will be assigned to the group that got there first, leaving others to perform more passive roles during the encounter. In regards to zerging, mobs in Pantheon will not stick around and allow themselves to be destroyed by being significantly outnumbered. They will act and react, which means, for example, that they may leave the area or just call for help. When asked about Pantheon's similarities to Vanguard, Brad said the biggest similarities are the variety of classes, offline travel, great storylines, and more. The biggest differences is that Pantheon's world, like EQ's, is zone-based, whereas Vanguard was seamless. A new player will be able to download and play Pantheon to a certain level for free, with a minimum level of restrictions. It's important to VR that players, especially those that might be newer or unfamiliar with classically based MMOs, be given the chance to acclimate and truly enjoy the game. However, some restrictions on the free character may have to be made in order to avoid it being used maliciously by farmers or griefers. Pantheon may have achievements, and if it does, they'll be used as a means for positive reinforcement. For example, giving somebody achievements in order to encourage exploration or for taking the occasional risk. Brad assured us that there is absolutely no place for pay-to-win cash shops in Pantheon. While it's not completely finalized, Pantheon will eventually allow you to set sail on ships around the world. Also on the subject of water travel, swimming won't just be an option, but will be a very important skill, especially with having an aquatic race in the game. VR strongly believes that its revenue model needs to match the game's audience. Thankfully, nearly everyone that is a fan of Pantheon is for the subscription model, which is the current plan for Pantheon. Pantheon will include truly epic class quests. Brad's favorite classes are hybrids, particularly Crusaders and Dire Lords. The game's UI will be customizable and reskinnable. The penalty for death will not be officially set until the alpha and beta testers get some time with it for fine-tuning. Brad said that death is not something that should be designed in a vacuum. I think these are really wise words, and they speak volumes of Brad's experience developing MMOs. Pantheon will have corpse dragging, which means that we can infer that when you die, you will have to retrieve your body. NPCs in Pantheon will not have exclamation or question marks over their heads. On the subject of guild management, Brad said that the game is planned to include raid attendance tracking, DKP tracking, guild events, and a means for the raid leader to distribute loot all through a guild tool. Pantheon will have GM events, but they said that they want to take it a step further by having dynamic events that may be triggered by turning in a certain quest or by the current population in a region or zone. That said, Brad wanted to make it clear that they don't want to make the game too dynamic, whereas it's too unpredictable, and to make it impossible for you to learn your way around the game. There will be advantages and disadvantages to your race selection, just as there will be advantages and disadvantages to your class selection. On multi-boxing, Brad had this to say: "My reaction to multi-boxing is to try something first before I even entertain the idea of artificially restricting it. I want to make combat, especially mid and higher level combat, so tactically intense, with so much going on, so much to do, so much to counter, so many companions to keep alive, and the timing of so many abilities crucial, that multi-boxing is, if not impossible, extremely difficult and likely far inferior to having an actual real person in your group." You will be able to play Pantheon in both third and first person, and the game is being tested to be played both ways. Races are not expected to have XP penalties. Brad believes that bards are a unique and important class. Because of this, he said that the bard needs to be done right. If they can get the bard done by launch, then it will be in the game. If not, you can expect to see it sometime after launch. Either way, they want to make sure that the bard is well done. Crafted gear will be just as important as dropped gear, but will likely perform a slightly different precise purpose. You will be able to buy up some of your spells in advance, similar to EQ, however the more powerful spells and abilities will not be on trainers sitting in towns. Rather, you'll have to learn these more exotic spells from NPCs that you'll have to actually seek out within Terminus. Trains will exist in Pantheon, and in fact they can be potentially even more dangerous thanks to the game's better mob pathing. Rangers will not be required to have pets. You can expect to see alternate rule set servers for Pantheon, and at least one open PvP server is planned to be up for launch. Well, there you have it guys. I wanted to keep this video as short and sweet as possible. Hopefully you learned something new and possibly even answered some of your own questions. I want to say a huge thank you to Brad McQuaid, who answered hundreds of questions and gave us some really great new information about the game. Well, that's it for this video guys. Give it a like if you enjoyed it to show your support, and be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more Pantheon updates. If you want to see more content on Pantheon Rise of the Fallen right now, you can click on any one of these videos here. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.